Apple's iMac Pro has been on the market for just over a year now, and what initially seemed like an overpriced machine compared to the high-end 5K iMac now looks a lot more reasonable. I'll explain why in just a minute. In this follow-up review, we'll be looking at what's changed in the last year, both in Mac alternatives, complaints we had, and specific performance tests which have changed with software updates. If you're looking for more info overall on the iMac Pro and specific performance tests, our original review is packed with them, so you can click the card above to watch that. A year into the life of the iMac Pro, I think it's an even more compelling machine, even though we have upgraded MacBooks, Mac Minis, and new eGPUs that support 5K displays. A lot of uninformed people scoff at the iMac Pro's $5,000 price tag, ignoring the fact that Apple is targeting the high-end market. Take a quick look at the iMac Pro's product page and you'll see examples of particle simulation, 3D modeling, animation, motion graphics, rendering, video and photo editing, machine learning, and more. In the last year, more than a handful of people I know have bought iMac Pros, and each and every one of them is very happy with their purchase, which says a lot. That's because it's easy to set up, reliable, and helps them get their work done much quicker than they could before. When you think about it, the base iMac Pro comes with all of the fundamentals: an 8-core Xeon processor, powerful Vega graphics, 32GB of error-correcting RAM, 1TB of blazing fast SSD storage, all of the I/O you'll ever need including 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, 10GB Ethernet, and an extremely color-accurate and detailed 5K display. Sure, it's probably possible to build a PC that can match the iMac Pro's performance for less than $5,000, especially if you're opting out of the 5K display, but many actual professionals who need a high-end machine would rather invest that time needed to research, build, and set up into being productive. What's even more interesting is I have multiple friends who have changed to using iMac Pros in lieu of their custom-built PCs, because they were tired of Windows updates, bugs, and poor performance with some video codecs that the iMac Pro cuts through like butter, even though it has lower specs, but more on that in a bit. Simply plug in one cable, hit the power button, and you've got a high-end, beautifully designed machine, and the space gray shell and peripherals give it a truly unique feeling, because it is. The charge on the Bluetooth mouse and full-size keyboard seems to last forever, and when they do run low, charging for a couple of minutes gets you hours of use. Let's talk about some of the iMac Pro's standout features. It's packing an updated cooling system that allows it to stay whisper quiet. Our 5K iMac constantly ramps up and gets quite loud when exporting 4K videos. The iMac Pro, on the other hand, stays silent even under heavy use. The difference is actually quite incredible. Apple uses the fastest SSDs available, and the iMac Pro is the only Mac that packs 2 of them in RAID using the new T2 chip, leading to incredibly quick storage speeds. The iMac Pro is also the first Mac to feature a 1080p FaceTime camera, and the white balance and tone mapping improvements that came alongside the T2 chip. It looks worlds better compared to our 5K iMac. Now let's talk about the main reason anyone should buy the iMac Pro: performance. When we first got our hands on it, we tested various professional apps and compared it to the top-of-the-line 5K iMac priced at $3,299. Our general consensus was that the iMac Pro shined in very high demanding tasks like video editing of raw footage and 3D animation. The 5K iMac was actually faster in some of our tests because of QuickSync, which uses a processor's integrated graphics to help speed up export times. Unfortunately, like all workstations, the iMac Pro's Xeon processor doesn't come with integrated Intel graphics, so it can't make use of QuickSync. However, professional software like Final Cut Pro 10 is now more optimized to take advantage of the iMac Pro's high-end hardware, so we reran a few of our tests to see if there are any improvements. Initially, stabilizing a 20-second 4K clip, the 5K iMac finished in just 7.5 seconds compared to 13 seconds on the iMac Pro. That was because the 5K iMac's graphics were at 100% utilization compared to just 40% on the iMac Pro. Now, 1 year later, the iMac Pro finished in just 6.5 seconds, now utilizing about 70% of the graphics and cutting the time in half. Exporting a 5-minute 4K project with effects was about 25% faster on the 5K iMac, but now the Pro catches up and even beats the standard iMac by about 6% and is now about 30% faster than it was a year ago. Now when it came to raw video editing, the iMac Pro blew the 5K iMac out of the water. Exporting a 5-minute 4.5K Red RAW project took only 6 minutes and 12 seconds on the iMac Pro compared to a whopping 33 minutes and 24 seconds on the 5K iMac. After 1 year, the iMac Pro had the same exact performance, 6 minutes and 11 seconds, which makes sense since at launch it was already running all 8 cores at 100%. Lastly, let's take a look at Canon's C200 footage. Canon Cinema Raw Lite is a tough codec to work with, but it's clearly well optimized for Apple's Metal API. For this reason alone, a few of my acquaintances ditched their more powerful custom PCs for iMac Pros and in turn had a much smoother and faster editing experience, even when using less optimized Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve video editing software. A 5-minute Cinema 4K 60 project used to be 12 seconds faster with the iMac Pro compared to the regular 5K iMac. Now it's 30% faster, improving 13% since last year. As you can see in those results, software optimization has really brought the iMac Pro to the next level, widening the gap between it and the 5K iMac, and making the Pro even more valuable than it was when it was first released. If you're someone who needs a powerful Mac and can afford the iMac Pro, we would highly recommend it. Everyone we know who has purchased one has been very happy with their decision, and we think you will too. But if you don't really need all of the extra performance the 8-core processor and Vega graphics offers for things like video editing and 3D animation, the regular 5K iMac will probably get the job done. However, it's missing a few key things that some professionals need that come standard on the iMac Pro, specifically 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports and 10 gigabit Ethernet. Some professionals spent the extra cash over the 5K iMac for those reasons alone. Well, now Apple's also offering the 2018 Mac Mini, which comes with 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports and can get 10 gigabit Ethernet for only $99 more. It's definitely not as powerful, but if you really want those extra ports and you're doing work that's not graphics intensive like photo editing for example, the Mac Mini should do a heck of a job for a lot less cash, especially if you already own an external monitor. But if you'll end up trying to replicate the experience by maxing out the Mini specs, adding a LG 5K monitor, the accessories you need, and a Blackmagic Pro graphics which uses similar Vega 56, it's definitely not worth it. You'll end up with a much slower processor, slower graphics because you're running them externally, and a $347 higher price tag, and that's not including that your parts aren't workstation grade like with the iMac Pro. You're also going to be getting a less coherent experience compared to an all-in-one. If we would have to complain about one thing concerning the iMac Pro, it would be the lack of an HDR display. Final Cut Pro 10 has supported HDR video since before the iMac Pro was released, but the iMac Pro doesn't. To edit HDR video, Apple recommends buying an external reference HDR monitor, which isn't something you'd want to do if you've just spent $5,000 on a machine that has a beautiful 5K display. We expect future iMac Pros and maybe even high-end iMacs to come with HDR displays, but for now, the iMac Pro is still the best powerful iMac you can get in a beautifully designed all-in-one package. Let us know your thoughts about this 1-year follow-up review in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
If you enjoyed this video, like it and hit that subscribe button. Also, check out our price guide, which makes it extremely easy to find the best deals on Apple products, updated daily. Be sure to follow us on social media, and we'll see you in the next video.